Good evening. Please welcome to the regular board meeting of the Halton Catholic District School Board. Just to let you know, we are audio and video recorded tonight, and that'll be available on YouTube. We could have our opening prayer tonight and call to order. Jason Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This prayer will also be based off the Aboriginal education that we're promoting this month. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Teach your children what we have taught our children, that the earth is our mother. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. If men spit upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know. All things are connected like blood that unites us one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We do not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Amen. And that was written, sorry, Madam Chair, by a First Nations tribe chief.
Thank you. If you can ask Trustee Antimasi for the motions adopted or information received in camera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. From HR, we have elementary school principals. Kathy Choma, Kelly Carter, and Claire Lanois are appointed as elementary school principals effective September 1st, 2015. We have elementary school vice principals. Nancy Musin, Lisa McLennan, and Melissa Monachino are appointed as elementary school vice principals effective September 1st, 2015. In transfers, we have, this is elementary, Vince Chinania transferred to St. Catherine of Alexandria effective September 1st, 2015. Yolanda Esposito transferred to St. Christopher, Point 5, and remains at Mother Teresa, Point 5. Doug McDougall transferred to Guardian Angels. Louise Cronin-Nowitzki transferred to St. Benedict. Paul Deoni transferred to St. Bernadette. Tony Albani transferred to St. Joan of Arc. And Peter Bertrand transferred to St. Mary effective September 1st, 2015. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a mover for the approval of the agenda, please. Trustee Quinn, seconded. Trustee Marai, all in favor? Thank you. Any declarations of conflict of interest this evening? Seeing none. We have no presentations. We'll move on to our delegation for primary and middle years International Baccalaureate Program. Ms. Dubb, is that the right presentation? Thank you. And Ms. Nagina.
Okay. Thank you, board members. Thank you, parents and council members from St. John's Elementary School for taking your time for being here today. My name is Lesha Dubb, and this is Erica Nagina, and we are parents as well as council members at the St. John's Elementary School, and we are here today to make our board aware that a middle years international baccalaureate program should be implemented into our Catholic school system. It is a competitive, diverse, and global changing world. This program will help prepare our children into the next century. The mission statement of the International Baccalaureate aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. I'm actually going to move over to the primary years, as that will be we'll move from the primary years into the middle years, as that will be our emphasis today. So we'll just pass through that. The middle years program is designed for students aged 11 to 16. Similar to the diploma program, it is inquiry-based learning. The curriculum focuses on 6 needs: global, intellectual, personal, physical, creative, and social. The middle years program teaches students how to learn, intercultural and conceptual understanding, many concepts with big ideas, learning in context, community service, creative, critical, and reflective thinking. So what are people saying about the middle years program? Dr. Vincent Xian, principal of Fairview International School in Malaysia, says, "It allows students to explore their passions and do something powerful with it. It involves third or fourth level thinking, where students really have to go beyond the surface and dig deeper into more abstract and conceptual thinking. Back in the 70s, when the IB started, there was only 7 schools. 0% were state schools or district schools, and 100% of them being private schools. In 2014, you can see that there's now 3,789 schools, whereas 56% is state schools and 44% are private schools. So they must be doing something right, and it's good to see that it's the district schools that are taking care of the program. If you look at the competitors closest to us, you'll see they are as follows. The Toronto District School Board, they have 2 schools that have the middle years program. The Peel District School Board, there is 1 school. And there are private schools, 12 of them in the GTA area, one of them being in Oakville, that has offering all 3 of the IB programs. So what are the benefits? Well, we need to keep up with the changes and challenges. We need to be competitive with the other boards and the private schools. It's a better learning foundation. We need to attract new students and bring back old students. We need creative solutions for schools with low enrollment to keep kids in our Catholic system. And, of course, there's proven success of the IB diploma program that's happening at St. Thomas Aquinas. So why at St. John's? We feel that at St. John's Catholic School, it would be the most ideal school for the middle years IB program. There's ample space available, a whole floor to be exact. We have a central location. Currently, there are no programs offered at St. John's. We have an underutilized technology in our school funded by the council, approximately 30 iPads. And introducing the IB program at our school would also help improve enrollment, improve school rank. A program like the IB will keep and attract high-level students from a diverse global background. It will reduce the number of families leaving our school looking for enhanced learning programs such as French immersion. For example, Sunningdale Public School in our area has a huge population of 800 students. The new French immersion school being built north of Dundas and parents leaving to St. Matthews is a problem for us. I have surveyed these parents, and many mainly leave for a high-quality education and feel that French immersion is their only option to enhanced learning. The IB program would attract these students, keep the students, and bring back all the students that left our board. So this is our proposal and recommendation, to introduce the middle years programs as it will link into our very successful high school IB program, implement the middle years program as soon as possible, because as you know, it takes a couple years to be accredited and time is of the essence, and consider the IB middle years program in the current budget discussion that you're currently having now. So there are some actual cost advantages. The IB World Schools pay an annual fee for each program they're authorized to teach. So if the board offers 2 or more programs, such as the IB middle years in conjunction with the diploma program, you'll actually pay a reduced fee to reflect the greater commitment that you would have. And also, 2 or more programs being offered, you would also be paying a 10% discount. So that is also very helpful. The middle years program is important. The middle years is an important age of transitional, personal, social, physical, and intellectual development. It is a time of uncertainty and questioning, a search for relevance and meaning. Adolescents are entering a phase of life where their social and cultural experiences in and outside of the school have a determining impact on their perception of themselves, their self-esteem, and their sense of identity and their capacity to relate to others. The middle years program is devised to help students develop the knowledge, attitudes, and skills they need to participate actively and responsibly in a changing and increasingly interrelated world. Research shows that students in both the primary years program and middle years program perform better than non-IB students in a global international schools assessment study that ran from 2009 to 2011. A middle years program will give students a foundation of success so that they are more prepared for all the challenges that are ahead of them. Okay. So I'd like you to now watch a YouTube presentation from Vista Verde Middle School from Phoenix, Arizona. And it's just to give you a glimpse inside a typical day of the middle years program and students' reflections. I don't think anyone's used it. Okay. Go back one.
There we go. Now I just need to do it one more time. Hang on, sorry. We have to do it on, so it duplicate. Okay. Now it should go. Good? Here, could I just?
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the presentation, and we hope that you can help implement Education for a Better World in this really exciting middle years program. And thanks again.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you both very much for your presentation. It was both enlightening and insightful, and I really enjoyed the video. I'd like to thank all the parents. I believe you're the parents of the council in St. John, and you're very welcome to stay. We'll be responding to this later on, or you're welcome to go. It's up to you. Yes?
We're supposed to respond through the action items in,
yes.
It's a few minutes, correct?
Yes, it won't be long at all, just a few minutes. If there's any questions from the trustees for clarification. Paul?
Thank you for the presentation. It was enlightening, and it's nice to see such a large group of parents here. I think in the 4 and a bit years I've been here, we have had lots of parents come, but not with their own project and interest in trying to develop their school. So that's unique. So specific questions that I just had. Yeah, for clarification. So you mentioned in your presentation that there were some parents leaving St. John's because of other programming in the HCDSB. Do you have any sense of the numbers that you've seen leave the school recently?
Probably there's 6 families in the past last year, and then the families that I've spoke to who plan on leaving for next year due to the French immersion enhanced learning. They too plan on leaving, and there might be even more.
And just to clarify, on the programming that exists at the school today, how would you, I guess you and the group here rate the program we have at that school?
At St. John's, there's no programs. We need help, please. So as you can see, we have a big group here that love the school and help in every way they can to make it what it is, and they want to stay. We want St. John's to be bigger and better, but if we don't have your support, then we're not going to be able to do that. And we have the room. As I said, there's a full floor that's waiting to be used, and we're in a central position where we're located, but we need to have the programs in order to do that. IB would be perfect.
Thank you for your passion. Helena?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, so you have no programming, has this been going on for a while, or is it?
Many years, yes.
Diane?
Madam Chair, I was just wondering if I could get a clarification on what no programming means, please.
Well, we just have the regular programs that there's no French immersion, there's no enhanced learning, there's no music program, art, sports programs. It's just the basic curriculum, and that's it.
It's my understanding that all of our schools have the same program, the same curriculum,
No, well,
the same music and the same phys ed.
But there are schools that are larger because they have the extra staff. They are able to put in extra programs and have that implemented. Whereas in our school, having less than 200 students, it makes it very difficult.
Talking extracurricular programming.
Well, extracurricular or anything else, enhanced learning as well.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just looking for clarification on what our clarification questions are meant to get. Are we going to discuss the presentation amongst ourselves? Are we asking questions of their presentation now?
We'll be responding to the delegation and what our route will be, but you can ask for clarification of the presentation. Anthony?
Madam Chair, if we're having an action item later, I guess it'll be debated, whatever that motion is going to be, if a trustee has a motion prepared, right?
Yes, correct. Arlene?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For clarification, thank you, ladies, for coming, and I appreciate everybody being here. You made the comment how you've spoken to other parents, and you sort of, polled them as to why they were leaving. And I guess my question is, if it sounds like a lot of them are going to the French immersion, do you think that if we had something like this at your school, whether that would be enough to
Yes.
keep them there? Like,
Yes.
I guess my question is, are they leaving because of French,
No.
or are they leaving because there's absolute, what they feel to be nothing else of enhanced value
Right,
at the
exactly.
school?
I thought, I asked them, and I dig deep, and I said, you know, are you French? Do you have a reason why you want to take French? And they said, for enhanced learning, we will have a better my children will have a better education at a French immersion school. And that is their thoughts.
Anthony?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, for my clarification, what are your roles at the school currently?
I am a parent and a council member. I have 2 children at the school, and I love the school, and I want the school to succeed and everyone to stay, but I also want more programs in our board, and that's why I thought of bringing in the IB in the middle years.
Thank you.
And I myself am the treasurer of the school.
Treasurer of the Parent Council?
Yes, the parent council.
And how many students are currently enrolled at St. John's?
190, about
190, and Sunningdale, you said had 900?
It's 800.
800.
And a lot of the parents actually left to, they assumed that it is better education there because it's French.
And do you know what the capacity is for St. John when it's at its full enrollment?
I would say.
the whole floor is empty.
The whole floor is empty, so fill us in. Please.
And 1 grade per class. So when we
Right.
said that 6 people, sorry, I just wanted to add something. When we said 6 to 9 people leaving per year, that means more than half of that grade exiting. So grade 4, if we have 6 people or 9 leaving, that would be half of the grade.
Director Dawson, and then Brendan?
Through you, Madam Chair, just to clarify, on the second floor of St. John's, we have a structured teaching class through our special ed program, so I'd be happy to have Superintendent Narr or Superintendent Brown respond to that.
Just as I'm sure as the parents know, we're very proud to host our structured teaching class at St. John's. We do utilize 3 of the classrooms upstairs, a classroom for students with developmental disabilities. We're proud of the work that the students do there, and we do appreciate the use of that floor at St. John's for that purpose, and that would be a program that is there very specifically, and we're very proud of the structured teaching class being located at St. John's in Oakville.
Thank you. Any other questions for clarification? None? Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Could I have a mover for the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting of March 24th, please? Trustee Rowe, seconded. Trustee Tomasi, all in favor? Thank you. And for your information, we have business arising from previous meetings and a summary of the outstanding meetings. I don't think there's anything there. And now we'll move on to the action items, and 8.1 is the response to the delegation. Tonight, the Board of Trustees can make a decision whether to move on with your suggestion for IB in the early middle years. We can refer the matter to a future meeting. We can request a staff report to be considered at a future meeting. Any trustees like to say anything? Trustee Mariah.
I think that the delegation brought up a lot of interesting points, and I think it would be valuable for the board to get a little bit more information, balancing both the staff time but just also the concerns brought up by the parents. So I would like to make a motion to answer a few specific questions that are open to debate amongst us all, to be brought back to the board on April 21st, which is in 2 weeks. So the first question would be, has board staff looked at implementing middle years IB at our board in the past? If so, just provide any report. 2, what would be the cost of implementing middle years IB at St. John or at the board more generally? Question 3, what would be the shortest timeline for implementing a middle years IB program at the HCDSB? Question 4, given the current boundary review going on in Oakville, what would be the most suitable timeline for determining enrollment numbers that would lead to a potential case for IB in Oakville or at the HCDSB? And number 5, if IB is not suitable for St. John School Oakville at the moment, what additional programming could be provided to St. John School or I guess I should say enrichment programming, just to Trustee Rabenda's point, what additional enrichment programming could be provided to St. John Oakville School to better support students?
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Yes, Trustee Danko. All in favor? So moved. So it'll be brought back with a report on April 21st to the board meeting.
Can I provide all those answers?
I'm sorry?
So can I provide all those answers he has?
No. Thank you again, and you're welcome to leave, or
Okay.
you're welcome to stay and enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think we can move on now to 8.2, school year calendar. Superintendent McGillicuddy?
Through you, Madam Chair. Presented is an action report to recommend approval of the school year calendar for 2015-2016. As per Ministry Regulation 304, the Board is required to submit a Board-approved 2015-2016 calendar to the Ministry of Education by May 1st, 2015. The proposed 2015-2016 school year calendar was presented to trustees as a staff report at the March 24th, 2014 special board meeting and is now being presented as an action item. If approved, the proposed school year calendar will be forwarded to the Ministry of Education for final consent. At this time, all but one professional activity day is in alignment with our coterminous board. The professional development day that is not in alignment takes place before the beginning of classes in September when no buses are running, which means that there are no transportation-related budgetary implications. Staff recommends the following action item. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve the 2015-2016 school year calendar as presented.
Do I have a mover for that? Trustee Intomasi, seconded. Trustee Rowe, do you have your hand up? Yes, thank you. All in favor? So moved. Thank you. We have a staff report, Halton Student Transportation Services, bell time efficiencies. Superintendent McMahon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This topic has been raised before vis-a-vis our transportation consortium. With the two French boards leaving on the consortium on September 1st, 2013, it was suggested that we look at this, and indeed we had it on our agenda. We've just brought it forward at this time to advise trustees of what we intend on doing. So this is a staff report, and we would be coming back with an action report at the April 21st board meeting indicating the parameters that would be involved, those being budgetary, not moving bell times more than a certain time window to upset communities, et cetera, et cetera. So this was more a heads up to let our board know. Myself, the chair, and the director represent this board on the Halton Student Transportation Services Board of Directors, and so both boards agreed to look at this. We hope that there will be efficiencies achieved, and hopefully the cost of implementing those would be offset by savings. That's the idea. So we haven't done this in a long time, and with the two French boards leaving, it's time that we do take a look at it. So those parameters will be brought forward in the report, the next board meeting, which will in the form of an action report. I don't see Fred. Oh, there he is. Did you want to say anything more, Fred?
Does anyone have any questions? Susan and Helena.
Through you, Madam Chair, There's a consortium that they're a part of called Francobus, right, Frederick, that actually, if I can use the expression, forms a donut around Halton region. We're in the middle. So they basically decided to go with them. It made more sense. It was a better fit for them. Interestingly, they're still using, as I understand it, the same carriers that we are, because they're in the same region, and there's only the 4 carriers. But nevertheless, it was an amicable agreement, and they felt it was a better fit to go with that pre-existing consortium. And through you, Madam Chair, they're allowed to do that. The French boards, ideally, you want the 4 coterminous boards, but because of the unique disparate nature of their schools, the ministry has allowed French consortiums to form their own, French boards to form their own transportation consortiums.
Through you, Madam Chair, what is the cost of the study that's going to be undertaken, and who pays for that?
Wrong button. Through you, Madam Chair, we're not 100% sure. I think it's going to be in the order of $20,000, which will be shared by both boards. So we would pay, Fred, I don't think we've worked that up. We will probably pay our proportionate share based on enrollment, which is about a 2/3, 1/3 split. We haven't worked that part out yet, but we don't think the amount would exceed $20,000. We'll bring that forward next board meeting, Madam Chair, and if that's one of the parameters, if you will, cost is one, not just not the cost of just the review, were there costs or savings, but the cost of doing the study too. We'll bring that forward, so it can be, it'll be considered at that time.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Are any of these decisions being made on the report that I think you presented to us, or that I read in the paper about the coterminous board being interested in longer sleep periods for their students in the mornings, rather than just on efficiencies and cost savings?
Through you, Madam Chair, that was brought forward by our coterminous public board vis-a-vis secondary bell times and circadian rhythms of secondary students. This study that's being proposed here is a full bell time efficiencies review, both elementary and secondary. So that one did not go forward. This is a full all grades, elementary and secondary, considering all those.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Student trustee update. Jason?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we're going to do our reports with the Achieving Believing, Belonging. So I'm going to be talking about the pillar of believing tonight. So at Corpus Christi High School, staff and students have been diligently working on preparations for Pink Day, which will be quickly approaching on April the 8th. Actually, that's tomorrow. They are raising awareness and showing support towards ending transphobia, homophobia, and bullying while supporting a healthy Catholic environment in our schools. Students designed and sold pink t-shirts and planned various festivities in order to raise awareness for these causes. A Longhorn welcome with music, breakfast, and face painting has been organized for the morning. Along with fun activities, students will also be exposed to education about various lifestyles and respect for all. At Notre Dame this year, we have converted to a new style of Catholic teaching, where instead of 9 large masses a year, we'll have 3 to 4 school-wide masses and 4 to 5 smaller liturgies per grade. This decision was made to display to students that there are many different ways of being a member of the Catholic Church and practicing Catholicism. The third liturgy will take place on this Thursday. Yes, if you'd like to come. And that's everything for believing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I will be talking under the pillar of belonging. So it's, once again, with the idea of belonging, it's the idea of doing things to bring the whole student body together and doing things to bring people together so that they feel like they're working to kind of like achieve the goal of the greater common good. So over at CTK, Christ the King, the students are working together to serve healthy breakfasts to their other students in the morning. So they do that twice a week. Lots of fruits and vegetables so you can get your brains going for math class in the morning. Also, the Green Club was able to put in water refill stations. So instead of students kind of bringing water bottles to school and kind of adding to the whole kind of environmental issues that are going on in the world, they're able to bring in metal water bottles and refill the water bottles and have them refilled at a station. So it's kind of a cool little incentive that was put in for the students as well. And soccer and rugby have started up again. Little tip, go to rugby games, very fun. If you haven't played rugby, great therapy, very cheap therapy as well. And then over at Bishop Redding, Think Fast just took place. So for those of you who don't know what Think Fast is, it's where students stay overnight at school, and so after their lunch they're told that they can't eat for 24 hours, so they're kind of fasting to feel and understand what it's like to be in a third world country and to see how essentially 80% of the world lives. So students during that night at school, they play games, they do a lot of workshops to help them open their eyes on what people go through and how blessed they are, and how amazingly lucky they are to live in Canada. And then the next morning they wake up and the school principals kind of cook them brunch, and then they kind of talk about what they learned and what they can do to kind of help other people in developing countries. So that is what is going on in kind of our Nectar of the Neighborhood under the pillar of belonging. So I'm going to pass it on to Joel.
Thank you, Chloe. So I am going to be reporting on achieving. At Loyola, our mentor captains have been starting to go through the election process. We've been carrying out our mentor program for the last year. It's our first year trying the mentor program, where grade 11s are mentoring grade 9s throughout their year. It's proven very successful, and I think both sides benefit. The grade 9s obviously having a better transition experience, and the grade 11s learning to be leaders in their school community. So these grade 11s will continue to be mentor captains in grade 12s. In grade 12, and they will help the mentors in grade 11, as well as the grade 9s who are coming in for next year. As well, a student named Aiden Smith in grade 10 at Loyola went to OFSA as the only Loyola representative for swimming. So that was great. Now, in terms of our actual trustee report, right now we're working a lot towards our conference. As we discussed at our previous meeting, our chosen theme is diversity and inclusivity. We are working with the Student Senate to create workshops for the afternoon, and we actually have a Senate meeting tomorrow, so we'll most likely have a lot more to update at our next meeting. But another element of our day is a guest panel featuring different guests who have been marginalized or different minorities within our community, looking for youth as well. So I sit on the LGBTQ Youth Action Committee of Halton. And basically what we do is we are trying to create a youth center for struggling LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender plus youth. And the coordinator of the organization fundraiser, I guess, the Positive Space Network, his name is Marcus Logan, and he's agreed to be one of our guests for the day. So he identifies as gay. And it'll be good to have that kind of perspective there. But we're hoping to get a wide variety of people to kind of get the conversation started about people who aren't always in the spotlight in media, in the classroom, in the world, etc. That's all I have to report at the moment, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for the trustees? Anthony?
I have a question for Joel, through you, Madam Chair. Is that conference you mentioned a board conference, or is that the wider conference for your association of students?
Through you, Madam Chair, this is referring to the conference that the Student Senate puts on, the annual conference. It's going to be on May 13th. This is completely separate from Ontario Student Trustee Association.
Our board students?
Yeah, board students from grades 9 to 11 will be invited to a school. It's also run by our Student Senate, so they will be putting on workshops, and we'll have a guest, most likely a guest speaker and a panel as well.
Through you, Madam Chair, could I ask that Joel share the planning information with the rest of the trustees, so we know what to see what you talked about there in the presentation?
So through you, Madam Chair, we are still going through the planning process right now with our Senate. So tomorrow is actually our Senate meeting. I will have more to report for our next meeting, but as of now, this is all I have to report.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Educational field trips, if there's any questions, Superintendent Overholt, I'm sure will be happy to answer. No? And we have Superintendent McMahon back up for the release of the GSNs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As trustees are aware, the 2015-16 GSN Grant for Student Needs was released on March 22nd. The next morning, trustees received an email with a brochure, an electronic brochure attached, briefly explaining the grants and the changes that happened from last year. We've included a number of other appendices to this report, as we do when the grants are released, in an effort to try to explain them further. The top of the second page of your report, which, sorry, in your package is, I got to get 36. Those 5 bullets were in the email, but at this point in time, just to be perfectly clear, all we know is the projections based on the ministry formula, and they're compared to our revised estimates. Both of those for the current year, for 14-15, both of those are not fixed, and both will change in terms of becoming actuals. The revised estimates, the next step for 14-15 will be our actuals. So we're comparing two numbers there, as we indicate in those bullets, that are not cast in stone. The main changes are indicated in the middle of page 36 in your agenda. There are 4 items. Phasing out of the top-up funding. Top-up funding is basically on 2 grants that we get. One is for school operations, which is the maintenance and repairs to our school stock, and basically gives a grant uplift for schools that are not at capacity. And then there's the lower funding for small schools that are not isolated or combined. That largely does not affect us in that our schools are isolated or combined, but the school foundation grant is affected by that. The geographic circumstances grant and the reduced declining enrollment, we do not get grants in those 2 areas, so those do not affect us. And what we've tried to show at the bottom there in the chart is that were it not for our growth, we would actually have gone down by a negative 0.1% there. We try to explain those on the notes on the following page, on page 37, and suffice it to say that virtually, if not all of the grant increase of some 7.8 million will be consumed by corresponding expenditures, and that's what we're trying to explain there on the next page. And at the bottom of page 37 and over to 38, we have 8 things listed that we're working on. The most important of which is the education finance information forms, which are the basis for us doing our grant calculations specific to our board, are not expected to come out until the end of April. So we need those forms to actually make an accurate calculation of our revenues, particular to our board, as well as include the expenses to compare the revenues and expenses, and look at our enveloping provisions that we have to be compliant with. Examples are special ed, board administration and governance, and we'll talk more about those as the budget process unfolds. So we've included the updated schedule, and there's a consultation summary. All these documents are directly from the ministry, and myself or Roxana would be happy to answer any questions trustees may have.
Questions? Anthony?
Madam Chair, has the treasurer baked in these GSNs into the budget estimates?
Sorry, I missed the operative word in that sentence. Baked?
Madam Chair,
I'm not much of a baker, I have to confess. Sorry.
The treasurer anticipated these GSNs, and do the current budget estimates reflect those assumptions or anticipations?
Through you, Madam Chair, the current budget for the current year, 14-15, is the revised estimates are quite separate. That's based on the 14-15 GSN, which came out a year ago. These GSNs that have come out are for next year. I will make a comment, though, on that we did hear and we talked about it before that, you know, the ministry said be prepared for a 1 to 2% reduction in grants. As you can see, that didn't materialize. Unless you're better than me, I don't see 1 or 2% reduction in here. I see 0.1%, with the proviso that I attached, that you're comparing two numbers that are not fixed as yet. So I'm not a betting person again, but I'm guardedly optimistic that with a few of these grants not being applicable to us, and things like top-up funding, basically what they're trying to do, you know, as Fred fed into the commentary that we sent to you, they're trying to pull those grants back over 3 years in an effort for boards to look at their empty pupil places and consolidate those to the extent possible. So I'm guardedly optimistic about where this is. I think it's doing the right things rather than cutting grants that are operating that could have a more severe effect on the operations of our board. But again, we need those forms to do the calculations to make a more realistic assessment of what it means for our board.
Any other questions? Moving along to your next one. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along with the release of the GSNs was the much-awaited release of the Pupil Accommodation Review Guidelines, version 3. So the next, the report, I'm going to flip to the report. There was actually two parts to the Pupil Accommodation Review Guideline release, this and one relating to partnerships, which is talked about briefly in the report too. So I'm sure trustees have read the report or can read it. The process that we're talking about from here on, basically we need to update our school closure consolidation policy and procedure to reflect the updated Pupil Accommodation Review Guidelines. Our strategy is to do that with our 6 GTA partner Catholic boards. That's known as Catholic School Board Services Association, and it's referred to on the 3rd page of your report, which I guess is 168, I guess it is. Page 168. And that work effort's already been started with Fred and his colleagues from the other 5 GTA Catholic boards. We are going to consider input from other boards that are not part of those because they have school closure consolidation experience, and certainly that's mentioned in the report too. We wanted to start with a smaller group. So Fred, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, but that's our strategy. The goal is to have a policy and procedure through the policy committee and to the board for approval by June, so we could start assessing the potential for accommodation review committees in our system come the fall. Fred, I don't know if you want to add more.
Seeing none. And we have Superintendent McMahon with the HSTS Annual Report.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. This is a report we bring forward every year. It's the annual report that went to our latest HSTS Board of Directors. The consortium, as I mentioned earlier, it has our board and the Halton Public Board in it now. The report's there for trustee information. It includes various statistics and highlights of what happened during the year, including our E&E efficiency review or secondary review, which resulted in a high rating and means more funding to the board, as we've brought forward before, and includes the financial statements of the board. And myself or Fred would be happy to answer any questions trustees may have.
Seeing no questions, we move along to our Walk with Jesus. Superintendent Nara.
Thank you. There's a report in front of you about our annual Walk with Jesus. This is our 6th year for doing the Walk with Jesus, and it begins with an opening liturgy at 10:30 in the morning at Bronte Creek, and then we move over to, we carry on with the walk and move over to Corpus Christi Catholic Secondary School for the Mass with Bishop Crosby. This year we're also going to have a live feed of the Mass back at all of the schools. So each school is represented by 20 students that participate in the Walk with Jesus, and then the students that remain back at the school are encouraged to do their own walks and their own activities to support the Walk with Jesus. And last year we introduced the hashtag for Twitter and had a lot of sharing of pictures and comments in that from students walking. If you haven't seen this visible demonstration of our Catholic witness, it is pretty phenomenal to see all of the students walking. Each school is led by the cross. You'll see it I think you have the invitations at your desk. But those crosses are all held up by each of the schools as they walk down the road to Bronte Creek, and cars are stopping and that. So it's a pretty phenomenal thing to see, and I encourage you to please come out and join us, participate in the liturgy, participate in the walk, and join us for Mass. Do one, do all three, whatever you can do, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have to say that I was just enthralled with it all. I was addicted to the Twitter feed all morning last year, and I can't wait till this year. I just hope it doesn't snow. Arlene?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have we heard back from Eleanor McMahon's office whether she's going to join us on that walk this year?
I don't think so, but maybe I can call her on Friday. Yeah? Anyone else like to say anything about the Walk with Jesus? No? Superintendent Pinelli or Cipriano on the secondary school boundary reviews in Oakville?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, I present this information report on the Oakville Secondary Schools Boundary Review Update. The purpose of this report is to provide information on the Oakville Catholic Secondary School Boundary Review Committee and the school attendance boundary options that were presented to the committee on March 4th, 2015 at St. Mary's Catholic Elementary School in Oakville. The Oakville Catholic Secondary School Boundary Review process was initiated in February 2015 when board staff began reviewing enrollment projections for each of the Oakville Catholic Secondary Schools. An Oakville Catholic Secondary School Boundary Review Committee was established in February of 2015. Representatives, which are parents and school representatives from each of our Oakville Catholic elementary and secondary schools, were asked to sit on this committee to ensure an open, fair, and transparent boundary review process. If you recall, the school attendance boundary options consider all Catholic secondary schools in Oakville and takes into consideration the future accommodation and programming needs of elementary students. The final approved option will be in effect for the 2016-2017 school year. At the meeting on March 4th, the Oakville Catholic Secondary School Boundary Review Committee were presented 4 potential school attendance boundary options, which will also be presented to the school communities for their input at the upcoming community consultation meeting scheduled for 7 o'clock on April 13th at St. Ignatius of Loyola Catholic Secondary School. The purpose of the meeting on March 4th was to outline the school boundary review process, which is outlined in our policy I-29, the 6 criteria to consider, and to review the 4 options that were drawn down to by senior staff and planning services. Your package that you have before you contains the school representatives' names from each of the Oakville elementary and secondary schools on the committee, that's Appendix A, the 4 options that were presented at the inaugural committee meeting, which is Appendix B in your package, the minutes from the March 4th meeting, Appendix C, the questions that were raised from the committee members during our first meeting, Appendix D, and the full interim report, including the completed and upcoming key dates that you'll find in Appendix C. Several of us from Planning Services and senior staff were at that inaugural Oakville Catholic Secondary School Boundary Review Committee meeting at St. Mary's and contributed to this report, and any of us would be happy to answer questions if you should have them.
Anthony, and then Mark.
I think that was Anthony Quinn. Sorry, I had my head down. I'm just trying to find my point here through you, Madam Chair. But I think what I didn't find the answer to in this report was why St. Thomas Aquinas cannot accommodate portables. I understand there may not be the desire to, but physically, why they cannot accommodate portables.
Giacomo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Trustee Quinn is correct. The school could accommodate portables, but it's not desired for a number of reasons. It's a very small school site, and when we went for this approval with the ministry to get the grants, it was based on utilization of our facilities. To place portables at St. Thomas based on our student enrollment, so that going forward, we'd have empty classrooms in our other schools in the north, plus the fact we would also harm any future potential to get the 4th high school in Oakville if we're loading up or moving students down below to the south. Portables can be placed on the site, but it'd be much more costly. There would be a tremendous backlash from the community because of the difficulties we encountered through the site plan. But nothing is impossible. It would just cost a lot more money, and which the ministry would not be interested in us entertaining.
Follow-up? Yes, please. So, I understand the concern about costs, but could some investment in the boundary or in Aquinas, even on a short-term basis, not prevent students from being transitioned midway through their high school career? Say that they're in grade 9 now, we change boundaries in 2016, they have to switch in grade 11 and 12. Could we not accommodate that transition with a small number of portables to push the capacity of Aquinas until we need really change the boundaries?
Again, through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Quinn, we would have a strong desire to avoid that situation exactly. We're not looking at Superintendent Pinelli can further elaborate on that, but we're looking at scheduling within the school to absorb that short term. But those are one of the considerations of keeping all students there is an option that we need to consider, which we suspect will become a point that we made at the upcoming committee consultation committee. But that's something we've always tried to avoid, students moving halfway through their high school career, so to speak. That's something we're looking at.
Any other questions? No? And we have Superintendent Overholt and/or Nar for Georgetown Elementary Boundary Review Update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. The report before you is an update on the Georgetown Boundary Review. On January of this year, I presented a report to trustees that spoke of the continued accommodation pressures in Georgetown, and particularly South Georgetown at St. Catherine Alexandria School and St. Bridget, and the need to reconvene a boundary review committee. Since that day, the Planning Services have updated numbers and projections, and a number of options were developed to address the growing enrollment pressures as outlined, particularly in the 2 schools as I mentioned. By 2016, we do realize that there is a need due to the fact that St. Catherine will be past the enrollment, even with the portables on site. The options were developed taking into consideration either a new build of Holy Cross or reliance on existing building capacity and the use of portable classrooms. A few items have come up that have certainly affected us moving forward as quickly as we wanted to. One was added pressure. In January of this year, Halton Hills have allocated water to a specific development, which has redirected residential growth in the south as well. And also, the board has initiated a study and evaluation of early French immersion program, and that does affect the Georgetown schools. So given the uncertainties of the EFI program, as well as the continued uncertainty as to whether a ministry will allocate funds in the next round of capital funding for a new Holy Cross, staff have reevaluated our timelines, and we do know we have to get our boundary reviews in place as soon as possible. Our first date we were looking at was June of this year, but realistically we are looking now at the latest of December of this year so that we can get our review completed by that time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Superintendent Overholt. Tim, can you tell me how many portables are currently on site at each one of those two schools?
Through you, Madam Chair. I couldn't, but I'm sure Mr. Cabraccio would.
Pass. Thank you.
St. Catherine currently has 9 portable classrooms, and it could be going to 9 or 10 this year. Based on preliminary enrollment data, it will remain around 9 or 10 at this time, but numbers could increase as more homes close. St. Bridget is at 5 and will be going to 6. Holy Cross has no portables, and there is absolutely no possibility of adding portables because of the topography of the site. And St. Francis of Assisi has portables on site, but they were only there to accommodate the construction. Those portables will be removed for next year.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I may, just to assist trustees, those numbers were in Appendix B to the Pupil Accommodation Review Guidelines report. The number of portables, if you wanted to look, they're listed by school there, empty classrooms and portables. He was correct, by the way, Madam Chair.
Anthony.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Superintendent, have we had any concerns from parents or perhaps even from the principals or vice principals about the delay that this may cause?
Through you, Madam Chair. At this point, no. We will be convening. The committee has been established. We will be meeting with the committee to explain where we are in the process and the delays that has been put in place, but that we are moving forward. So we will be meeting with that committee. Have not had any concerns as of yet.
Any other questions? Okay, April is Aboriginal Education Awareness Month at Halton Catholic. Superintendent Negro.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm pleased to present this report to Board this evening. April is Aboriginal Education Awareness Month at Halton Catholic. We began recognizing April last year to enhance the profile of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people in our board. We made a commitment to, for example, give opportunities to our students to have an experience on reserve, and we're quite lucky to have 6 nations of the Grand River Reserve in close proximity, as well as the Mississaugas of the New Credit Reserve as well. We continue to provide opportunities for our staff to learn more about the culture, history, and issues of our Indigenous peoples in this country. There is much work to be done, recognizing that our teachers and most of the adults in our board received a very limited education on First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples in our country in their own schooling. And when they did receive it, it was likely from one perspective only. We seek to offer other perspectives on our Indigenous peoples living in Canada. This month, you will note a variety of events in our board to bring heightened awareness within the entire HCDSB community to Aboriginal education. In particular, I'm personally really excited about two events, in particular involving our students. The first is the partnership that St. Mark School has struck with Lloyd S. King School on the Mississaugas of the New Credit Reserve. They will be doing an exchange, a visit to each other in the month of April. The first occurs on April 14th, and we're really excited that this partnership has been developed between our school and Lloyd S. King. On April 30th, we are collaborating with the Public School Board on an event entitled Our Pride, Our Stories, Our Future. And the target audience of this event is our self-identified First Nations, Métis, and Inuit students and families. Our self-ID numbers have grown over the past year from approximately 50 students at the beginning of this school year to approximately 120. We're up to 121 as well. Still a long way to go. We have a projected number of students of FNMI descent in our board of approximately 1,550, and we continue to work on that self-ID process. That event on April 30th will gather students that have self-identified to learn more about their culture, history, and some of the challenges, but they also have an opportunity to bring a friend to the event, to extend the learning beyond themselves, and to involve more people in our schools in the discussion about Aboriginal education. Finally, I'd like to draw your attention to an event on April 28th that I'd like to invite you to as well. Our own principals are headed for Six Nations Reserve on that date to learn about First Nations history, issues, and culture at the Woodland Cultural Center. It's actually in the shadow of the Mohawk Residential School, and a residential school tour will be included in that day. Some trustees around the table, well, Mark was there last year for a similar event, and we hope that some of you can join us on April 28th on Six Nations Reserve, and I'm happy to provide any further information on that particular event. It will involve our principals and senior staff that are available to attend. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Helena?
If I'm aware of some educational thing about Aboriginal awareness, how would I let others know about that, or send it to Sherry Seville?
Yes, you could email Sherry or myself, or
because I come across these things, so just to know where to direct it.
Please forward it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. We can now move on to the miscellaneous information, and there are a number of resolutions for OXTA for the AGM, and they're all listed here. There's been a conference committee which has studied the resolutions already, and they've already designated how they think the best way is to deal with them. They either going to approve and refer, receive and refer, not approve, no recommendation, or no action required. So any delegates wishing to speak to these will just take the mic at the floor at the AGM and state their name and the name of the board they represent and speak to the resolution. If there's any questions, or I'm sure Arlene might be able to answer better than I. Anthony?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Ian Tomasi. Do we, as individual trustees, vote as unique persons, or do we vote as a board?
Through you, Madam Chair, you vote as an individual. Okay, and as Jane explained, some of these things will go forward, some of them won't. Sometimes it's just a show of cards. They'll give you I think it's a red and a green, so it's a yes or a no. And they just sometimes will come around and literally just count it. Some of them will get deferred. I read through them. A lot of them are issues that they come up repeatedly year after year. And so it just sort of becomes a slam dunk, if you will. Everybody just kind of goes, okay, yeah, we've done it again. And they just keep on sending it back to the ministry so that the ministry doesn't forget that we're paying attention. I see there's a lot of things on mental health. I don't know how they're going to handle it. Sometimes they put them all into a group, and so you'll vote on the solid group. But that's it. It's not by board, it's by individual.
Just as a new trustee, is there a way to get more information so that when we arrive, we sort of know its background or what's going on some of the issues? Or are we going to discuss it to get better understanding?
Generally, that doesn't happen. Usually, they just lead you, they let you read it. Sometimes whoever is moving it will speak to it. Sometimes not. Like I say, if it's an issue that's come up, like say spec ed comes up almost every year or every meeting, so there won't be a lot of discussion about everybody knows they need extra money, so it's just yes, and they send it off. If it gets, some of the things that get a little more intricate, sometimes there is good conversation that happens right on the floor. Some things, it's just like here, some things get discussed a lot and some things hardly get discussed at all. And if you could track down some of the people that are moving it, because everybody will have their name on, so if you get a chance, you can always ask them there. Excuse me, or if I could, if you want, and if you're not sure about some of it, I could probably sit and talk with you too as well.
That's great. Thank you, Arlene. We have attached correspondence, 4 letters in regards to the health and physical education curriculum for your information. They've been answered as per the other ones? Yes? That's what these are new, and they will be answered as the other ones were. Any questions? No? We have to go back in camera. So I need a motion to adjourn. Anthony? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.